Ladies and gentlemen.
The situation with Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively and now Taylor Swift really comes as no surprise to me because I've never been a Swiftie in all my born days. Now, when she came out and she had her like little songs or whatever, I was like just getting into college, and I remember like her little tunes were like, appropriate for that time of my life, when you're like breaking up with boys and like you're feeling wounded and you're feeling like you want like a song of empowerment, something to really tell you and express how you feel. And so I remember kind of liking her music then, although nobody was like a Swiftie. Just, if the songs came on the radio, you're like, I like it. But then I kind of grew up, and her music no longer spoke to my soul because I grew up. But she is like a 34-year-old woman who is very, very much entrenched in this 17-year-old personality. And so a 17-year-old personality who has power, fame, and fortune, and has discovered that they're no longer the loser, but the actual winner of the world, it would seem, now has great fun behind the scenes, orchestrating the world that she feels had victimized her for so long. Because that's her whole theme. Her whole theme is, I was dating this guy and then he totally screwed me over. How effing dare he? I was misunderstood my whole growing up years, and now I have to scheme and mastermind so the whole world will love me. I was never understood. I have always tried. If I've ever seemed sketchy at all, it's because I was driven to this. I know I have problems, but also it's everyone else's fault that I found myself here. Victim, victim, victim. Nobody understands. And so I just didn't have any use for the music. Yeah, they're catchy tunes. Like, no one's going to turn on Taylor Swift and be like, this isn't catchy. I don't like, what? Why does it mean like, they're catchy tunes. I don't love her voice, but that's for another conversation. Whatever, she has become wildly popular. And so she has begun using this power, as it would seem, behind the scenes for ill. Now, does anybody find that surprising? Like, if you're honest with yourself, does anybody find that surprising? Anyway, all the Swifties out there are devastated to find out that maybe, oh my gosh, she got caught up in this Blake Lively web. Like, how did it happen? And I'm like, how did it not happen? And she and Blake Lively had been best friends for years. They were in like the little girl squad. They were always being seen together. And in order for us to understand how deeply devastating this week's article in the Daily Mail was, that said that Taylor Swift was distancing herself from Blake Lively and that she didn't even know what that girl's on about, and that she was like shocked and grossed out by the weirdness of Blake. In order for us to understand how devastated Blake is this week because of that article, we have to go back and talk about the friendship that they have and the belief that Blake Lively had in Taylor Swift to always have her back. So these two were all kinds of best friends. But we didn't see a lot of Taylor Swift for a while when she was dating the guy that she's dating before her current boyfriend. So right now she's dating Travis Kelce, as though anybody could be confused about that. Like, we've seen so much of the two of them. It's unbelievable. But she was dating this other guy before that, Britt. He was this British guy, more private. And so she wasn't really seen as much, was a bit more private with that boyfriend. Then they broke up. And then, as has been reported by everybody, she started really going out on the town with all her gal pals. It was like hot girl summer. Look who you missed out on. I am like the queen of the town. I'm going to be prancing all over Manhattan with my girl crew. We're here to be seen. We are having so much fun. We don't need men in our lives. They always ruin everything. They would F everything up. Not today. Girls, let's go. And so she had this whole attitude, this whole like, I'm going to be seen everywhere with my girls because they love me, because they have my back, because they're not going to screw me over. And she was just little queen of Manhattan after that breakup. Blake Lively was consistently seen with her, and they were always hanging out. And interestingly, during this whole time of hanging out, she was making other friends in New York. One of the friends that she met, and somebody who she was very entrenched in her little group, was Ronan Farrow. Well, you guys know who he is. He and two other journalists are the ones who really mastermind the whole Me Too movement. All this to say that while Taylor Swift is prancing through Manhattan, she's also making friends with journalists from the New York Times. And so it's not any surprise that when the New York Times decided to expose this PR ring that was trying to take Blake Lively down. Blake Lively did it through connections brought to her by Taylor Swift. So Taylor Swift, not just in that, but in the movie, had all kinds of hands in this movie, even though she was not in the movie. She had no rights to be in the movie. Blake Lively was in the movie, and Taylor Swift was literally just her friend. Like there was no reason for her to be involved in this project. But Blake, her bestie, wanted more say in It Ends With Us. And since Taylor was not dating anybody at the time, she decided that she needed to help her friend out and like help her friend get the life she wanted. And so she, because she had nothing else to do, started really helping Blake manipulate what was happening on set. This included things like the hiring of the actress who was a younger version of Blake Lively's. Now, if you've seen It Ends With Us, there's two parallel storylines running. There's the Blake Lively Lily, who is dealing with this abusive relationship, and then there's younger version of Lily, played by the actress Isabella Ferrer. And it would appear that Justin Baldoni, who had put out an open casting call to find the actress to play this younger version, was just steamrolled by Blake and Taylor Swift, because Taylor Swift decided she was personally going to handpick the person who was going to play her bestie in the movie. And her best friend, Blake Lively, needed to have a girl that they all liked. And so Taylor Swift put a hard lean, and she ended up handpicking Isabella. The girl knew it. She talked about it on the red carpet.
Did I hear that Taylor may have had some influence in getting
Yes, she did. Yeah, I know. I don't even know if I'm meant to be saying it, but I'm saying it. Yeah, she was a helpful part of the process of the audition, which I found out later after I got it, and that rocked my world. Yeah. I have no words.
And so, Justin Baldoni is calling out for this open casting call, and then suddenly that whole thing shut down, and I guess we found our girl. How in the world did Taylor Swift think she had any business getting all up into the hiring process on this movie? Who does she think that she is? Well, I'll tell you, the whole world has told Taylor Swift she can do whatever she wants, because her annoying voice sang some tunes to them that made them feel seen in their hurt, wounded place after the boy walked out of their life. Like, people have given this girl way too much power for what she has brought to society. Anyway, she butts her little head in and she decides who the actress is going to be. But it doesn't stop there, because then there is a composer who is writing music for the movie who suddenly loses his job because Taylor wants some of her music on the movie. And the thing is, if you're Justin Baldoni and Taylor Swift shows up and says, no, I've got songs that would fit this, and you've got this powerhouse Blake Lively and her weird husband, who we haven't even gotten into him yet, pushing you to include these Taylor Swift songs, and you can get the rights to Taylor Swift songs for your movie, I can understand him feeling like, okay, this other guy's already written music for the movie, but a Taylor Swift song would probably be really helpful, considering the climate and the kind of people who are probably going to come watch this movie. They would enjoy some Taylor Swift in the background of all of this. And so I can understand how that happened. But again, Taylor Swift is pushing people out who have every right to be there, who are employed by Sony and by the production company to be in this movie. And she just comes and marches herself in and is like, actually, no, I have music that would fit. And so that guy, out. Okay, so we have her hiring people. We have her firing people. Then Blake decides that she is going to rewrite this specific scene on this rooftop. It's a pivotal scene. And she decides she's going to write it and she's going to make it better. She's very passionate about her ability to make it better. And she's very, very upset because in times past, she has been invited into projects and told she was going to have some creative control, and then they wouldn't let her be as creative as she wanted to be. And come hell or high water, Justin, I'm going to have my say on this little film. So it would appear that she has already had a lot of experiences, at least by her description, where she was promised something in the way of creativity on a film and wasn't able to get it. And so in this scenario, she's going to stand up for herself and be the person that she wasn't in those other situations. And she's found the perfect person to manipulate because Justin just wants to get along. He does not want to fight. He does not want to argue. He does not want to be mean. And she knows that. She's a very rough girl. Like when you read all the text messages from Blake and Justin and the way that she jokes, she's crass. She's literally making jokes about her anus. Like she's a nasty girl. Like even apart from the way she's behaving, like the way she actually is as a human being in the world, she's just an off-putting person. They say on the set of Gossip Girl, she just ran around burping and like passing gas all over the place. Like she's just a very rough, nasty person. Anyway, she tells him, I'm going to rewrite the scene. Apparently, she had shown the scene to Ryan and to Taylor, who thought it was like top notch. Like, I've never heard anything this good. You missed your calling. Like, you are the next Tolstoy. You know, to be a writer this good and for Justin to reject you in any way, shape, or form just shows how crazy he is. So that was the feedback she's getting from her little clan. Justin didn't love it. And he basically was like, hey, I'm excited that you're excited about the movie. Thanks for showing me how you would do it. And it could be good this way. I mean, he's like very non-committal to these scripts that she has shown him, to these updates and to these improvements that she has shuffled his way. And because he does not openly praise her and give her specific instances in which her genius shone through, she's now all in her wound. Now she's real upset because this is like those other times when people didn't appreciate her creativity like they should have. It's just like, oh my gosh, is everybody just going to run over me? You know, so she decides that she's going to tell him how it's going to be. And we get this exchange of text messages. And at the very end of this exchange is the infamous, I am Khaleesi, I have my dragons. But before we even get there, I don't know why people aren't talking about the stuff that came before that. Because this is where we really see her leaning on Taylor's fame, fortune, and persuasion. And this is where we really see her using that power, trying to manipulate Justin. But she really believes that Taylor is like basically her long lost twin from the womb, that they are like this, that everything they do is like so entwined together that there is just no way that somebody like Taylor Swift and all of her musical genius and all of her creative genius could ever steer her astray, because they have always bounced off each other creatively. And I just think it's really interesting how she plays up this relationship. It is crazy to see her just lauding and praising Taylor Swift and her friendship, to now see the Daily Mail piece in which Taylor Swift is like, ew, yuck, I hate that girl. I don't even know what she's talking about. We barely know each other. Okay, so to read those text messages, I really want you guys to hear the flavor of who she thought Taylor Swift was to her. And then from that, we'll read the Daily Mail article, because it really, I mean, Taylor Swift is not a nice person. Like, for her to have done all the things she did on the set of It Ends With Us, and to make Blake believe that they were going to run the world together and they were going to take this movie and it was going to be all for Blake. Because again, remember, Taylor Swift wasn't dating anyone, had nothing else to do. Travis hadn't entered her life yet. And so she had all kinds of extra time to help her friend be this little mastermind behind the scenes. She had all kinds of time for that. And to see how involved she was, hiring, firing, trying to influence Justin to change scripts because her best friend wrote something that she really liked, showing up to their house, and basically like putting a lien on him and being like, you will choose my friend's stuff or you're going to meet all the power that I have behind me. It is going to be this way. You are going to do this. You're crazy if you don't. And then for her to now suddenly be like, I don't know anything about that. Like, you guys, Blake Lively was like really, really mistreated by Taylor Swift. Blake's crazy. No one's going to take that away. She's nuts. The fact that she's involved in this, her husband, crazy. Taylor Swift, though, not innocent in all of this. They're having this conversation back and forth over text message, which Justin, every time he texts her, it's like, let me write you a novel back about how I'm right and you're wrong. But anyway, Justin is responding to her. They've been talking about something else. And he responds to her, great. Also, with working on the rooftop scene today, I really love what you did. It really does help a lot. It makes it so much more fun and interesting. And I would have felt that way without Ryan and Taylor, winky face. You really have a talent across the board. Really excited and grateful to do this together. He says in this particular instance that the changes she made are really great and that she thinks it's fun and interesting. And he tries to tell her what he really wants to tell her in this kind of jokey, winky face. You know, hey, you know what? This whole push from Ryan and Taylor, kind of unnecessary. I really didn't need to feel that pressure. You're great. You're awesome. You're wonderful. You're fantastic. I would have loved to have not felt the way I felt when Ryan and Taylor were on my back. But he doesn't say that. Like, he doesn't say, hey, your inclusion and your feelings about the character, thank you so much for letting me know. But this business with your husband and Taylor Swift needs to end today. Okay, they're not part of the movie. If you have things that you want to add as your director, I'm so happy to hear what you have to say. That garbage, you're going to be out of this movie if you bring that garbage to my doorstep again. Like, he never says any of this. And I understand power plays are difficult, but I also think he really, really, really struggles to stand up for himself because he says 50 bajillion compliments around the one thing he really wants to say. And even the one thing he really says is very sort of, don't kick me, don't hurt me, please don't get mad at me. No wonder Blake Lively is as entitled as she is. He just finished telling her how awesome and great and wonderful and beautiful and interesting and fun she is. She's none of those things, and she's trying to take this power play and destroy him. But he won't stand up for himself. Regardless, that's not what we're here to read about. We're here to read the parts where she says, that's very appreciated and means a lot. I'm deeply inspired by the film we're doing and making outside of the success of this book. We have such an opportunity to not only surprise people who love the book, but reach an even bigger audience by making an undeniably dynamic and also commercial film. The moment that excited me most the other day was when you said that you are not funny. You are going to kill that rooftop scene. You know it, I'm sure, even though it was said in playful self-deprecation that we all appreciated. It made me think of the process as a whole. Please know, I trusted on the day you've got me, and I hope that you trust that I've got you too, if you want it. We're in this together. We are two of the most determined people I know. We also have very high bars set for ourselves. To collaborate with that type of partner is a gift that neither of us will squander, because we both care too much about the result and also the experience. I have no motives except for you to win. As a director, as an actor, as a studio, as a writer, if you win, I win. If you win, our movie wins. We are aligned, and I will bring everything I have to this. Okay, so she says. But then she goes on to bring us this garbage. As far as Taylor and Ryan, I'm the luckiest mother effer on the planet to have them as my dance mom level stage moms. They are embarrassingly effusive. That said, they're also my most trusted partners and the people I go to first with anything creative that I touch. And I'm the person they each go to first. You guys, Taylor Swift asks her about her creative projects first before she asks anybody else, so don't doubt it. Blake says it's true. That reciprocal creativity and support has been one of my life's greatest and most fulfilling gifts. When they loved and signed off on the pages, I felt good to send them to you. They asked what you thought specifically after. They checked in so many times. I told them that you laughed a bunch and said it's probably a blend, but you appreciate my passion so much. Which, of course, didn't feel great for me or them. To have my passion be praised instead of any specific contribution, or even just that you didn't like the pages, which was fine also. So I think they wanted you and me to see how they felt about the work because they've been by my side for far too many experiences where I've been overlooked. I spoke to you about this when we first met. They've watched me handwrite scripts because the director is too afraid to send the FDX file, yet he scans and has someone else hand type all 120 pages of my pencil rewrites. They've watched me be hired as a writer and paid a significant fee for it, but on the condition that I never ask for credit, which I could give a shit about. It's more the principle of the dynamics at play. They've watched the other side of it too, where I'm told at signing that I'm wanted as a true collaborator, but once we get to work, I'm really just wanted as a yes man. Both Ryan and Taylor have established themselves as absolute titans as writers and storytellers outside of their primary gig, just singing or just acting. or just directing. And I'm so lucky to have them as creative barometers, but also to have them as the people who prop me up and make sure I'm seen for all I can and do offer. Because they know firsthand all I contribute. They also know I'm not always as good at making sure that I'm seen and utilized for fear of threatening egos or fear of affecting the ease of the process. They don't give a shit about that. And because of that, everyone listens to them with immense respect and enthusiasm. So I guess I have to stop worrying about people liking me. If you ever get around to watching Game of Thrones, you'll appreciate that I'm Khaleesi. And like her, I happen to have a few dragons. For better or worse, but usually for better. Because my dragons also protect those I fight for. So really we all benefit from those gorgeous monsters of mine. You will too. I can promise you. So what do you think about that, Justin? Taylor Swift's on my side and in my corner, and we are like this, and we're bouncing ideas off each other all the time, and she doesn't do anything creative unless she asks me, and I don't do anything creative unless I ask her, and they were really offended that all you gave me was some kind of junky praise about my passion when you couldn't even give specifics, and if you didn't like it, you should have said it. She's my beautiful monster. What do you got in your corner? Podcast, a man bun? I've got Taylor Swift and Ryan Reynolds, so don't you dare cross us. They're my dragons, and they're out to get you. If you don't do what I say. I mean, the whole thing is just like dripping with ridiculousness. The fact that she would, like, he gives her this tiny little bit about like, hey, thanks for the rewrites. They were great. You know, you're really funny. And I really would have come to that conclusion without the pressure from Taylor Swift and Ryan, winky face. And then she gives him this dissertation about how, well, I'm on your side and everything. You and I are super cohesive in our idealization of the process, okay? You and I are side by side, lockstep, like nothing will ever come between us. This movie's going to be a success. You were great. You're amazing. You're wonderful. But by the way, you suck because you didn't say what I wanted you to say when I gave those rewrites. And you better watch out because Taylor Swift's coming after you. It's like, girl, who taught you how to be a human? But that was her feelings about Taylor Swift. That was the level of friendship they had. You know, Taylor Swift breaks up with a guy. Blake is her world. Blake's projects become her projects. She's hiring and firing and making sure that Blake's rewrites on scripts happen. She's showing up to meetings to make sure that, you know, all the power of her prestige is felt in the room. And then, when Blake Lively is spinning the drain, Taylor Swift, her bestie, who felt that putting her hands all up in this project that belonged to her friend and helping her friend overstep her boundaries, then she decides, oh, wait, people are mad about that? I had nothing to do with it, and I don't know what happened there. So then we get this article from the Daily Mail. So the article says, Taylor Swift taking a step back from Blake Lively as dramatic legal battle with Justin Baldoni threatens their decade-long friendship. And it goes on to say that Taylor Swift is taking a step back from her friendship with Blake Lively after feeling like she was used as an intimidation tactic by the actress in a lawsuit that she never wanted to be embroiled in. The singer, 35, I said she was 34, okay, so she's 35. The singer, 35, was dragged into the explosive legal feud between Lively, 37, and Baldoni, 41, when he claimed his co-star used Swift to intimidate him at a meeting with her husband, Ryan Reynolds, about edits that she had made to a rooftop scene in their film It Ends With Us. In his $400 million lawsuit earlier this month, Baldoni said Swift showed up and made him feel like he needed to comply with Blake's direction for the script. Lively later appeared to threaten Baldoni by comparing herself to Game of Thrones character Khaleesi in a series of text messages in which she referred to Reynolds, 48, and her best friend as, quote, dragons. The uncool and unnecessary description was reportedly the final straw for Swift, who had never planned to be at the meeting, but arrived at Lively's New York penthouse to find it was still ongoing. For the time being, she's taking a step back from Blake because she doesn't want to get tangled in this more than she already has, which is far more than she ever needed to be, an insider told Daily Mail. Her friends also think that Blake's I'm Khaleesi and like her I happen to have dragons text to Justin was uncool and unnecessary because she was essentially used as an intimidation tactic. She was referred to as some kind of a pet or possession. Taylor shouldn't even be involved in this at all. She was only going over to visit Blake and Ryan with the understanding that the meeting would be over. Interesting, this character Khaleesi was portrayed as a villain after descending into madness and turning to vengeance due to trauma and loss. A second source said, Taylor has politely backed away from it all. She's conscious of her own image and hates that she has even been mentioned. The decision will no doubt shock fans of the Cruel Summer singer, who has been friends with the former Gossip Girl lead for a decade, with the pair celebrating milestones together and Swift even name-dropping Lively's children in her music. You guys, the backstabbing here is crazy. She appeared to rally around Lively when rumors of rancor between the actress and Baldoni first started bubbling in August. She was pictured arriving at Swift's Rhode Island property, taking solace at the $17 million, 8-bedroom estate, along with her husband Reynolds, to escape the frenzy. At the time, Lively was being called out for her tone-deaf marketing, apparently dismissing interview questions about domestic violence, a major theme in the movie, in favor of telling people to grab their florals and head to the cinema. Others accused her of using the attention to plug her alcohol brand, Betty Booze. Resurfaced interviews show the actress being rude to reporters that also went viral on social media. Lively and Swift were last pictured together in October on a double date with Deadpool actor Reynolds and Swift's boyfriend, Travis Kelce, in Manhattan. The outing came 2 months before she filed a complaint with the California Civil Rights Department, in which she accused Baldoni of sexual harassment and creating a toxic environment on the set of It Ends With Us. At the same time, the New York Times released a story based on her legal filing that accused him of orchestrating a smear campaign against her. Swift, whose song My Tears Ricochet was featured on the soundtrack, and was then pulled into the roller coaster saga when Baldoni fired back with a stinging $400 million countersuit against Lively and Reynolds, in which he accused the Hollywood couple of conspiring to trash his reputation. Baldoni is also suing the Times for defamation and claimed Lively hijacked the filming of the movie as he attempted to blow her allegations to smithereens. In her filing, the actress claims a meeting was held at her home in January 2024 to address a hostile work environment that had nearly derailed production, and that both parties discussed in detail the inappropriate conduct that Lively and other cast and crew experienced at the hands of Baldoni. But in his suit, Baldoni claimed he was invited over with a Sony executive to discuss her rewrite of a rooftop scene, when Reynolds launched into enthusiastic praise for Lively's version. They were also joined by her mega-celebrity friend to pressure him. While Baldoni did not name the famous pal he was referring to, he included screenshots of a later conversation with Lively, and one message showed him mentioning someone named Taylor. It is during this exchange that Baldoni claims the actress joked that he ever got around to watching Games of Thrones, he would appreciate that she is Khaleesi. Okay. So, obviously, if you are Blake Lively, you are devastated right now. Like, you don't even know which way is up, which way is down. Obviously, like we've said many times, she's brought this devastation on herself. This is her fault. Like, her life is like this because when you decide to be mastermind behind the scenes, you better expect that some consequences will come. As if anybody ever becomes aware that you're this manipulative witch who is trying to cast spells on everyone so you can have your way. And unfortunately, the veil has been lifted from our eyes because Justin meticulously kept records of what actually happened between the two of them. And I'm so happy that he has this billionaire backer who is able to help him expose the ring of corruption that was around him when it came to his film and his rights to the things that he should have had rights to as a director, as the person who bought the rights to this book. This was his project and he'd been working on it for years. And then for Blake Lively to sashay in with her husband and her, famous best friend to then try to tear it out of his hands, it's ridiculous. And she should pay the price for that kind of foolishness. But I'm just saying, at the end of the day, if all of this is coming crashing down and you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't believe that anyone would find out that I had done this. But now her best friend, who helped her all along the way to try to wrest this control out from Baldoni, seeing that he was a weak person who they thought they could easily manipulate, to now have that person who helped you turn around and be like, ew, yuck, you weird person. It was totally uncool and unnecessary what you said about the dragons. I don't want anything to do with that. And I have no idea how I got embroiled in this mess. This is crazy that my name came up. I had nothing to do with this. Yet all along we're hiring, firing, and, pushing people to accept our friends' rewrites of things. But we had no idea how this happened and how our name got mixed up in this. I mean, Taylor Swift is as big a liar as the next one. But anyway, Blake Lively has found herself in a terrible position. And all to her own doing because she's a big fat liar. She's a huge liar. That is why she's finding herself in this. If she had been honest all along, none of this would have ever happened. If she ever tries to throw her hands up and be like, I don't know how this happened, I can tell you, you are a liar. Case in point, in that Justin Baldoni lawsuit, she alleges that one of the ways she was manipulated and used on this set as basically just so much meat for all the guys to slobber over was she says that she was in a birthing scene in which she had nothing but a nude piece of fabric, a tiny little nude piece of fabric over her genitalia, and that she was laying there exposed from the waist down and that the room was full of people she didn't know, and the gynecologist in the scene was some pal of Baldoni's who was there to gawk at a naked Blake Lively, and that the whole thing was set up to undermine her and to make her feel small and to make her feel used. And so she alleges in her complaint that this was a prime example of Baldoni's ways, that there he would put her there with but a tiny bit of nude fabric. Cut to the reality of the scene. And Justin comes forward and Justin reveals the truth in his lawsuit. And he's like, tiny piece of fabric. What the heck is she even talking about? Let me tell you what she was wearing. Black briefs, a pregnancy suit, and over all of that, a gown, a hospital gown. Yet in her retelling, it was a tiny piece of nude fabric while everybody stared at her. What are you talking about? See, it's like, you are a big fat liar. You are just nothing but a liar. So now for you to be like, oh my gosh, this is happening. You know, well, because you lied? That's why this is happening? You know, so she's just not a truth teller. So of course it was all going to come down around her ears. But on top of that, to have her friend who helped her in all of her, you know, back scene kind of twist, manipulate, hedge in kind of behavior, for that friend to then be like, I don't even know that person. Ooh, my back, I've been stabbed, you know. Okay, so that's the latest there. Also, I forgot one other thing. It's not very interesting. Justin was desperately trying to get Blake to ease up on her ways. And so he's constantly trying to placate her. He does not understand the ways of the manipulator. And I think that was his greatest problem. He didn't understand that being nice to her was not the way, because all that led her to believe was that she could continue to further manipulate him. So also this week, we get this like 8-minute voice message from him where he's just like begging her to please get along. You know, just, I think you're great. I think you're wonderful. I think you're awesome. I think, you know, I'm just nothing in this world without you. And you're great. And I'm sorry if there's been any misunderstandings. And I mean, I didn't even listen to the whole thing because I was like, I can't. But he sent that to her at like 2:00 in the morning. It's like he couldn't even sleep because he had to make sure she was okay. And he's trying so hard to be nice to her. And I just feel like, dear man, sometimes you just gotta get a backbone and go crazy and just tell people, get the F out of this, you crazy nightmare. Like, you are an insane person. I'm not gonna not sleep. I'm not gonna get up at 2:00 in the morning and send you this pleading email where I'm groveling at your feet just begging you to be a decent human being. She left decency a long time ago, back on the set when she was burping and farting. Okay, so this is not the time to ask Blake to finally, like, come back to humanity and act like a human being. She can't do it. So anyway, that also happened this week. I just hope that Baldoni learns after all of this that it's really okay to take a firm line with people when they're abusing you. That, like, yes, let's live in peace with all men whenever possible. But sometimes it isn't possible, and people are manipulative jerks who need to be taken by the scruff of the neck and escorted out. Anyway, I hope that he can get some help here. Everyone's on Justin's side. Like, nobody is like, that bastard, you know, like everybody sees that he was used and abused and manipulated. And I'm just hoping, and I believe he'll come out on top in all this. How could he not? When we've got Blake Lively over there with her tiny piece of flesh colored fabric over my genitalia, when it was in reality black briefs, a pregnancy suit, and a hospital gown. I mean, that girl, it's over for her.